need to leave right now," the shop owner demands, pointing at the elderly woman examining greeting cards in the corner. 85-year-old Maria Rodriguez looks up in confusion, her weathered hand still holding a birthday card for her great-granddaughter. Unaware that the Bronze Star medal tucked in her purse would soon silence every person in that store. What happens next will restore your faith in justice. If you believe heroes deserve respect regardless of how they look, smash that subscribe button and share in the comments. A time when someone's true character surprised everyone around them. Maria Rodriguez had been up since dawn, like she had every day for the past 60 years. At 85, her body moved slower than her mind, but she still insisted on doing things herself. Today was special. Her great-granddaughter Isabella was turning 7, and Maria wanted to find the perfect birthday card. The small gift shop on Maple Street had been her favorite for years. It was walking distance from her apartment, and the previous owner, Mrs. Patterson, had always been kind to her. But Mrs. Patterson had sold the shop 6 months ago to a younger man named Derek Walsh, and things had changed. Maria pushed through the glass door, the familiar chime announcing her arrival. The shop smelled different now, less welcoming somehow. Derek had rearranged everything, moving the greeting cards to the back corner and filling the front with expensive electronics and gadgets. She didn't understand. She made her way slowly toward the card section, her cane tapping against the tile floor. Her left hip had been bothering her more lately, a reminder of the helicopter crash in Afghanistan that had ended her military career 43 years ago. She had been a combat medic then, one of the first women to serve in that role, treating wounded soldiers under fire, but that was a lifetime ago. Now she was just an old woman in a faded blue dress, searching for a birthday card that would make a little girl smile. The card selection was smaller than it used to be, pushed into a cramped corner behind a display of Bluetooth speakers. Maria squinted at the options, looking for something with princesses or unicorns. Isabella loved both, though she changed her mind daily about which was better. She picked up a card with a sparkly princess on the front and opened it to read the message. Inside, the print was small, and she had to hold it at arm's length to make out the words. Her reading glasses were at home on the kitchen table, forgotten in her excitement to get to the store. "Excuse me," a sharp voice called from behind her. "What are you doing?" Maria turned to see Derek Walsh approaching. He was a thin man in his 30s with slick back hair and an expensive watch that caught the overhead lights. His expression was hostile, suspicious in a way that made Maria's stomach tighten. "I'm looking for a birthday card," she said quietly. "For my great-granddaughter." Derek's eyes swept over her appearance, taking in her worn dress, her old canvas purse, her scuffed shoes. His lip curled in disgust. "This isn't a library," he said. "You can't just stand there reading cards all day without buying anything." "I am planning to buy something," Maria replied, confusion creeping into her voice. "I just want to make sure it's the right one. Look, lady," Derek said, crossing his arms. "I've seen you in here before. You come in, mess around for 20 minutes, and then leave without buying anything. This is a business, not a charity." Maria felt her cheeks burn. She had bought things before, small items when she needed them. A pack of batteries last month, some birthday wrapping paper in March. But Derek was right that she often browsed without purchasing. On her fixed income, every dollar mattered. "I bought batteries here last month," she said, her voice growing smaller. "Big spender," Derek snorted. "Look, I don't have time for this. Either buy something right now or get out." Other customers in the store had started to notice the commotion. A young mother with 2 small children stopped browsing phone cases to stare. An elderly man near the magazine rack looked up from his reading. A teenage employee behind the counter watched with wide eyes. "I'm trying to find the right card," Maria said, holding up the princess card. "It's for my great-granddaughter's 7th birthday, and I'm trying to run a business." Derek shot back. You think I can pay rent with old ladies standing around reading cards for free? This isn't a community center for bored seniors. The words hit Maria like a slap. She had spent 30 years in the army, serving her country in places most people couldn't pronounce. She had saved lives under enemy fire, earned commendations for bravery, and trained dozens of young medics who went on to save countless others. But to this man, she was just a burden, a waste of space taking up room in his store. I'll make my decision quickly, she said, trying to keep her dignity intact. No, Derek said firmly. You've had your chance. I want you out of my store right now, but I need to buy a card, Maria protested weakly. Then buy it somewhere else, Derek snapped. And don't come back unless you're ready to spend real money. I'm not running a charity for people who can't afford to shop here. The young mother with the children gasped audibly. The elderly man near the magazines shook his head in disgust. Even the teenage employee looked uncomfortable, shifting awkwardly behind the counter. Sir, the young mother said, stepping forward. That's no way to talk to anyone. Mind your own business, Derek warned her. Unless you want to leave too. Maria felt tears threatening to spill over. In all her years, through combat zones and military hospitals, through the loss of her husband and the challenges of raising children alone, she had rarely felt this small, this powerless. Please, she said one last time. I just want to buy a birthday card for a 7-year-old girl. I said get out. Derek's voice rose loud enough for everyone in the store to hear. You're trespassing now. Leave before I call the police. Maria's hands shook as she put the princess card back on the rack. She had faced enemy soldiers with more courage than this, but something about being humiliated in public by someone young enough to be her grandson broke something inside her. She turned toward the door, her cane tapping against the floor as she walked slowly past the other customers. She could feel their eyes on her, some sympathetic, others merely curious. The young mother's children pressed close to their mother, sensing the tension but not understanding it. And there's no point coming back, Derek called after her. I remember faces, and yours isn't welcome here anymore. Maria reached the door and paused with her hand on the handle. Through the glass, she could see the parking lot where her old Toyota sat waiting. She had driven here with such hope, excited about finding the perfect card for Isabella. Now she felt defeated, humiliated in front of strangers for the crime of being old and careful with money. As she pushed through the door, the chime seemed to mock her departure. Behind her, she could hear Derek's voice addressing the other customers. Sorry about that, folks. Sometimes you have to be firm with people who think they can treat your store like their personal hangout spot. Maria made it to her car before the tears finally came. She sat in the driver's seat, her hands gripping the steering wheel as she sobbed quietly. She had been dismissed, discarded, treated like garbage by someone who knew nothing about her life or her service. But what Derek Walsh didn't know was that Maria Rodriguez wasn't just any elderly customer. In her purse, wrapped carefully in tissue paper, was a Bronze Star medal she had received for treating wounded soldiers during a fierce firefight in Afghanistan. She carried it with her everywhere, not out of pride, but as a reminder of who she used to be when the world needed her. And what Derek also didn't know was that Staff Sergeant Tommy Martinez, recently returned from his 3rd deployment in Iraq, had been standing in the electronics section the entire time, watching everything unfold. Tommy recognized something in Maria's bearing, something in the way she carried herself despite her age and apparent frailty. As Maria sat crying in her car, Tommy was making a phone call that would change everything. Because sometimes heroes recognize other heroes, even when the rest of the world refuses to see them. The reckoning was about to begin, and Derek Walsh was about to learn that respect isn't just given to those who demand it, but earned by those who have truly served something greater than themselves. What happened next would transform a moment of cruelty into a lesson that everyone in that store would remember for the rest of their lives.